Welcome back to day 13 of Theology BookMAS. We are over halfway there. We're almost to Christmas, which is why I'm doing this. Do you like it? It doesn't fit my head. It came home with my kindergartner from school, and he wants me to wear it like nonstop. Non-stop. So, at first I was like annoyed, and then I was like, well, he loves it. So I just started wearing it like all around today. And, well, now I got a hat here and I wanted to record a video. So this is what you get, guys. And it goes with the theme because Christmas is all about joy. And today's book is The Joy of Calvinism by Greg Forster. Now, this book, I don't think this book gets the credit that it deserves. Like, it was promoted all over the place. I remember, like, a year before this book came out, I think it was in like 2015. Gonna look real quick. No, 2012. I remember like a year before this book came out, like seeing it just everywhere. Everyone was saying like, oh, watch out, this book is coming out. Everybody's gonna love it. And then it just like went away so fast. Sometimes these books, like, they have such an impact and like everyone's talking about them for like a year, at least in like theology circles or pastors circles. Like, I don't know, just not a lot to talk about. So we just focus on books, okay? Don't judge us. But at least in the circles that I ran in. And this one, it like came out and was really popular, and then no one talked about it again. But this has been like one of the most helpful books for me. Now, Calvinism is something that every pastor, every theologian has to wrestle with. It is like the big one. Like, I really do believe that. It is the big question that every pastor or theologian has to answer. And depending on where you come out on that, and whether you're on the extreme of, yes, I am a Calvinist, or no, I'm definitely not a Calvinist, or whether you're going to be like, kind of like, some of it not. Like, it really dictates the rest of your theology and the trajectory of where you're going to go. So for me, I grew up hearing about Calvinism all the time. I remember doing like a little protest in my church because I did not like Calvinism. And I remember wearing a shirt that had a robot on it, and it said, "Love does not compute." And that was like my little protest. You know, just, look at me, Pastor. He didn't care. He didn't notice. He wasn't thinking about it. But that was my way of rebelling against the system. And so I grew up hearing about it. I didn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. I was really trying to lean heavy into IFB influences. And so I was just like, nah. And then I went to college and I started thinking about it more. And I remember writing an article back in like 2007 or 2008. I had a blog. I was like early adopter of blogs, at least in my circles, not in the world. Everyone was having a blog. But I wrote a blog post about how I think I'm a Calvinist now. And I remember getting phone calls from people being like, "Dean, don't do this. Don't go to the dark side." And they actually convinced me. Like, not really based on arguments. That's the thing. That's why this book was so helpful for me. Was, like, I knew all, like, the data. Like, there's so much scripture. Spoilers, I'm a Calvinist. And you might have clicked off the video just because I said it. I'm not shy about it. I'm not one of those guys who's like a big jerk about it either. I've met a lot of those guys. But, and you might be watching the video and I say hi, but I'm not one of those guys, but I am a Calvinist. And I was wrestling with it because the data in Scripture, like all the Scripture, at least in my opinion, you know, my interpretation of it, it was so strongly like pro-Calvinism that like I was like, I can't argue with that, but it was just like the emotion of it. And like, I'm not an emotional guy, but like, I was just like, oh, I don't want to believe it, because if I do, like, here's some of the emotional baggage that's going to come with it. And I just didn't like it. And so I remember like looking and being like, I'm going to get this book when it comes out. And I did fairly quickly from when it came out. Read it. I wasn't that big of a reader at the time, not like I am today. But I remember reading it and just like struggling so hard through it. But everything was just like hitting me in the feels like, I get it. This to me was like the connection between head and heart for Calvinism. That I was finally able to understand that the God of Calvinism is such a loving and gracious God. It's not like a dictator, not a tyrant like some people would try to lead you to believe, but he was so compassionate and gentle and loving toward us, and like just the happiness, the joy that brings a Christian to know that your God is completely sovereign over your salvation, that he is completely loving in how he deals with you, that there is nothing that you could do to change his favor toward you. Like it's beautiful, and I love it. And like this is the book that maybe if you had cornered me and had like a real conversation with me before I read this book in like, what did I say, 2011, 2012, I would have been like, yeah, I'm pretty Calvinistic. This was the book that made me just go like, yeah, I'm a Calvinist. I'm a Calvinist. It's a beautiful theology. It's a rich theology. And it's also a real applicable theology to know that God who is sovereign over all things has got your back. And he's there for you in a real way because he chose you before the foundation of the world, not based on anything you've done. It's amazing. And so it fills me with happiness. This is the book, The Joy of Calvinism, Greg Forster. If you haven't read this, and maybe even like you're not even wrestling with the thing, you're like a full-blown Calvinist, I would encourage you to read this because it's just gonna fill your soul with joy. It's so good. So I'd encourage you to pick up this book. Tomorrow I'll be back with another one where I won't talk about Calvinism that much. See you then.